Hey guys, this is Jason Ladanye. Welcome to the Confident Deceptions DVD set. I wanted to take a moment and explain how this DVD works. Of course, we have all of the performances together and all the explanations together. But to save time on the explanations, we purposely left out a few moves. The pinky count, the spread call, and a false shuffle. So we've included a Utilities Moves folder where we can go more in depth with those three moves. That being said, enjoy the DVD. Let's get into it. How would you like a chance to win some money?
I love that.
All right. I brought it with me. It's my lucky $50 bill. And I'm sorry, it's one of the older 50s. I've had it for so long, I can't seem to lose it. I guess that's why I call it my lucky 50. But we'll get back to the bet in a second. What I need from you is to select a card. So as I spread through the deck, when you see one that you want, I just want you to touch the back like this, okay? I'll spread slow. Whenever you want, just touch the back of any card. This one.
Yes.
Can you hold out your hand like this for me? Yes, because I want you to take that card, look at it. Don't let me see it, though. Look at that card, remember it, but don't show it to me. I'll show it to the camera. Don't worry about that. Okay. And place it back in the deck right about here. And I've got $50 riding on this card, so really do get an extra chance. Take an extra moment and remember that card. Andrea, you can see it too. And can you help me out one more time? Mm-hmm. I want you to push that card the rest of the way back into the deck yourself. Just push it the rest of the way back in. Good. So not only did you pick any card that you wanted out of the deck, you pushed it back into the deck yourself. We're going to take it a step beyond that. I want you to shuffle the cards, all right?
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, while you're shuffling, I'll write up the bet. So go ahead and mix those up. I want to put the bet into writing so that there's no confusion. I bet $50. You're doing a great job of it. If you shuffle like that, I can't possibly know where your card is. I bet $50 I can cut to your card on my first try. And I'll even sign it so that there's no way I can back out. Okay?
Okay.
Andrea, can you drop that $50 bill in that envelope for me? Now, you might be wondering, why would anybody do this? I practice manipulating cards 2-3 hours a day. And what good is it if I can find a card in a shuffled deck if I can't do it under pressure? So I find betting $50 adds that missing element. And not just any 50. Jay Ladanye's lucky 50. Now, you're satisfied those cards are mixed?
Yes.
Because I only get one chance. I'm going to cut the cards like this. And one card comes out of the center of the deck. Don't tell me what your card was. Tell me, was it the 7 of clubs?
Nope.
Hang on one second. Because I didn't screw up the cut. I actually screwed up the bet. Does this say first try?
Yes.
Yeah, that should say second try. I'm sorry, that's just a minor detail. Sorry. So it clearly, I don't want there to be any confusion.
Okay.
It clearly says, I bet $50 I can cut your card on my second try. So can you hold your hand out over the table? I just want you to push down on that 50, okay? That's all you got to do. I want you to, no, press, keep your hand down.
Okay.
Your job is a stakeholder, okay?
Okay.
If I win, if I can cut to that card, I get to keep it. You have to give the money back. But if I lose, you get to keep it. Here we go. I'm going to try a different cut, and it looks like this. If I cut the cards like this and like this, one card emerges out of the center of the deck. Don't tell me what it was. Was it the 4 of hearts? It's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. How does it feel to beat a shark? You can keep the 50. It's yours. Open up the envelope. But Andrea, you remember what the card was. Will you tell me, is it in the top 5 or 6, 7, 8 cards?
No.
It's still a good trick if it's within the top 15. Oh, is everything okay? Oh, is that where, I'm sorry. Is that where that went? You know,
oh my God.
Getting that 10 in the envelope was not the most important part. The most important part is that I actually still have my lucky 50.
No. Oh my God.
I know. I would pay you. Because technically, I didn't get it in the second bet, but this contract is all torn up, so I can't validate. I'm sorry, I apologize. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Very good.
This is my explanation for Lucky 50. It is a very fun effect to perform. You're going to have a lot of audience interaction with this one. What you need here is a Himber wallet. I use a mini Himber wallet. If you're unfamiliar with a Himber wallet, it opens as two different sides. We have this side and we have this side. So we are going to need 2 coin envelopes. On one of the coin envelopes, I write this: I bet $50 I can cut to your card on my first try. And I sign it as well. You have to be careful about how you space the words here. You're going to be creating another one of these mid-performance. So what I'm talking about is I don't want it to say I bet and then on the next line say $50. I want to make sure that I space the number of words the same way. This envelope has a duplicate 10 of diamonds in it. And you have to make sure that it's matching the deck of cards that you're using. The envelope with the writing on it, with the wager written on it and the signature and the 10 of diamonds, goes in one side of the Himber. In the other side of the Himber wallet, you're going to place a blank coin envelope, the same kind, and neither envelope is sealed, by the way, and there's nothing in this. It goes in this side. I'm also going to place a $50 bill in there as well, and I use these 50, the older 50s. They're a little harder to find these days, and it's less likely that they'll suspect you're using duplicates. So I took an added step here. I don't know if you can see, if you go in real close, you can see next to Grant's picture there, the bill has been stamped by the bank. It's just the very outer edges of the stamp. That's what's left. On the other $50 bill, you have those same little lines drawn in there. So it's a super small detail, but it's something that I find kind of funny, that you went that far to make your duplicate look the same. Either way, one of these 50s I fold up and I place it in the wallet on top of the blank envelope, and the other 50 I place folded up in my outer jacket pocket out here. This, again, is something I can set up before a show. This is always set up. I always have my envelope with the writing and the 10 of diamonds in it, the blank envelope and the 50. That's always set up. When I'm going to do this show, I just take one of the 50s, put it in my pocket, and anytime you're ready to do the trick, you're good to go. So this is all closed up, and I place this in my pocket. You're going to need a Sharpie for this. I always place this Sharpie in my left pocket for this effect. That's where it has to start anyway. And you need a regular deck of cards, blue back, of course. Now, you're performing along, let's say getting ready to do this trick. All I've got to do is move the 10 of diamonds to 5th from the top. So very simple. All I'm going to do is spread through the cards, spread 4 cards past, and cut the cards at that point. You could use any way that you want, but that's pretty much the easiest way that I do. Remember, the trick hasn't started yet, so there's not going to be any heat on what you're doing. As long as you get that 10 of diamonds to 5th, you're good to go. Once the 10 of diamonds is to 5th, you're ready to start the trick. I bring the wallet out and say, I'd like to give you a chance to win some money. It's my lucky 50. I leave the wallet on the table. Oh, and you have to make sure, obviously, you open it up to the correct side. You want to open up to the side that has the 50 and the blank envelope. I leave that on the table. I pull out my 50 and I say, I'd like to give you a chance to win this 50. And if you watch the performance bit, you can see all the funny business here. I say it's, sorry, it's one of the older ones. I've had it for so long, I just can't seem to lose it. So you've said that you're going to have an opportunity to win, but apparently you've had this thing forever. So that's the business there. I put the 50 back in, and now I'm ready to force that 10 of diamonds. I use an underspread force, which means I pinky count 5 cards. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I spread over a single, a single, a single, and now a double. That allows me to clamp down with my left thumb and pull that 10 of diamonds underneath the spread. So now the 10 of diamonds is riding free of the spread. I just keep it up here like this. Let's do that again. Pinky count 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Spread over single, 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 double. Clamp down on the card. My right fingers pull the 10 of diamonds to the right, and I say you can touch the back of any card that you want. I spread through, and they really can. They can touch anything they want. Let's just say they touch this one here. I square up more or less the cards that I've spread through, and I leave just the card that they have touched sticking out of the side of the deck. And I say this one here. They'll say yes. If they say no, of course you can continue to spread. That's what's nice about the underspread force. So let's say they say no and they wanted this one instead. Same thing, I square all this up. I've left this card sticking out of the side. The 10 of diamonds is over here. I ask them to hold out their hand, palm up. What I'm going to do now is my thumb pushes this card completely flush. When this card goes completely flush, at the moment that happens, the fingers, the right fingers, push out the 10 of diamonds. And it's really going to feel like they selected this card. So let's do it at real speed. Any card that you want, this one here, if that's the one you want, then that's the one we'll use. And that card just turns into that 10 of diamonds. So they're looking at the card. I have them show the card around. I say, let's place the card back in the deck. I spread down to the middle of the deck. When I spread into the middle, I leave one card, very similar to the situation we were just in. I've got these cards squared up on top, more or less square, and a single card sticking out of the side. I have this card placed back on top, and what I'm going to do is Marlowe's convincing control. What I'm going to do is align these two cards. That's all. I just have that single card I've left sticking out here. I take the 10 of diamonds they gave me, and as I come up to show the cards, I just align them like that. So I'm saying, remember that 10 of diamonds. That's important. Burn that card into your memory. And that actually is true for this trick. I've got 50 bucks riding on it, so when I finish the trick, I don't want them to forget the card. Now, Marlowe's control is this. When I come down, and I move the hands down, I'm going to pull that 10 of diamonds to the right. But I'm going to keep that extra card here, this indifferent card, this 8 of spades. I'm going to keep that in view. So it looks like this. Remember that card, that's important. And I come down, and right here, the 10 of diamonds has been stolen. So now the 10 of diamonds is stolen underneath the spread. The 8 of spades is sticking out here. I outjog this card. Everyone in the room should believe that that is the 10 of diamonds. There's one more thing I forgot to mention, and that is the left thumb has to clamp down on that card. Remember that card? I come down and the left thumb clamps down. Then I'm allowed to pull that card over. Outjog this indifferent card here, and I move the 10 of diamonds to the bottom of the deck. All I do is feed cards in. 10 of diamonds moves to the bottom. So everyone in the room must believe that that's the 10 of diamonds. I tell the spectator, you pick the card, why don't you go ahead and push it back in yourself? So they push the card back in themselves. I now do a little bit of a recap at this point. I talk to the spectator about they picked any card that they wanted, they pushed it back into the deck themselves. And what I'm going to do during that patter is palm this bottom card. So as I'm speaking to them, they're not going to just burn the deck. They're eventually going to have to look up at me. So when they look up at me, here's the palm that I do. I buckle the bottom card like this. So my index finger is just pulling at this outer right corner, which pushes this card down like this. Once I got a break under that card, I can readjust my grip like this. So I'm holding the deck essentially in biddle grip, and my thumb has taken over that break. You can see the break at the back here. What I'm going to do here is put this left inner corner of this bottom card right into my left thumb crotch, right there. Now this allows me to use my left ring finger to pivot this card at a 45-degree angle. So now that's the same angle as my palm there. So that's all that the bottom palm is. This is the ordinaise palm here. I'm turning this to the side like this. Once the card is at an angle, my left hand can grab that card into full palm. All right? So here's what it looks like in performance. I turn to the spectator. Right now, I'm putting that card into the thumb crotch. I turn the card at a 45-degree angle, and the card just sinks into my palm. So that's the bottom palm that I use. But again, too, the audience isn't going to be paying attention to the deck. They're paying attention to what you're saying to them. So let's get into this bottom palm. And I explain that they're going to have to shuffle the cards. And while they're shuffling the cards, I'm going to write the bet out. And that means I have to go to my pocket. So two things happen here. I'm going to do a large forward action with the deck and a smaller, quieter action with my hand. I'm going to reach back to this pocket. So the audience is definitely going to follow that larger action of putting the deck on the table as you reach back to pull out that pen. Remember, don't worry about this too, because you've said, I want to use the pen first. If you say, I'd like to use a pen, and then reach to your pocket, they don't care. You've said you want to use a pen. If you don't say anything about a pen, and all of a sudden you start reaching to pockets, the audience may be a little suspicious. So, either way, they're shuffling the cards. I've brought the pen out. I take out this, and I'm going to write out the bet on this card. Remember to match the wording that you used on the other envelope. The spacing in the words, I mean. I bet $50 I can cut to your card on my first try. And I also sign it just like the other one. Now this is important. I leave the pen, remember they're busy shuffling these cards, I leave the pen over here on the outer right edge of my mat. That's important in a moment. I also wanted to mention that I like to write, I say the words as I write them out. I don't like that dead space when you're performing and all of a sudden you have to stop and be completely silent while you write something out. So just say the words as you write them. I open up the envelope, I hand them the $50 bill. In a moment, that 50 is going to disappear from this envelope. So if I put it in, they may suspect some sleight of hand. So I want them to put it in. I also would like to show that the envelope is also empty. So I give them the 50, they drop it in. The powder line here is, why would anybody risk that $50? And again, that's really just a reason to show that envelope completely empty except for that 50. That's all I'm really doing is stressing that there's nothing else in there except for that 50. I turn this around, I close the flap, and I put this in my Himber wallet. And now look at this, just the beauty of a Himber wallet. How are they ever going to suspect that this one with the bill in it is going to become this one with the 10 of diamonds in it? So here's how we cover this move. Darwin Ortiz does something very similar. When he turns from one spectator to another spectator, he will switch the wallet around. I do something very similar to that. I'm just holding it like this, and I'm going to lower it to the table. As I lower it to the table, I allow it to switch. The misdirection is that pen we intentionally left out on the edge of the table. So let's forget about the pen for a second and talk about this Himber wallet move. All I'm doing is allowing my my right index finger to just close the wallet. The right index finger closes the wallet and turns. Gravity will pull the other side open. That's all that's happening there. But it happens in a split second. It takes an absolute split second. Now, that's pretty deceptive as is. But I'm going to add physical misdirection by grabbing that pen. So here's what it looks like. There's a little bit of a joke here with the patter, too. I say, Jason Ladanye's lucky 50. That usually gets a little bit of a laugh, and it also helps cover the move. So here's the whole move with the patter. Not just any 50, Jason Ladanye's lucky 50. Now, you're satisfied those cards are shuffled? So again, reaching for that pen gives you all that misdirection in the world for that. Now, the pen I actually placed back in the right pocket. So it started out in the left. This time goes into my right jacket pocket. They have finished shuffling the cards. I take back the deck, and what I'm going to do is any flourish cut, it doesn't make a difference which flourish. You can watch the video. I did this Sybil shortcut, and I produce it makes no difference. There's no way you can cut to the 10 of diamonds. It's in your pocket. And I say, this is the pattern's important here. I say, don't tell me what card you picked. Tell me, was it the ace of spades? And they'll say no, of course. You don't want to say, is this your card? Because they may say, no, I picked the 10 of diamonds, and you have nowhere to go. So I say, yes or no, was it the ace of spades? And they're going to say no. At this point, it seems like you've lost the bet. So you're going to use a nice little joke to get out of it. I put the cards down and I say, I didn't screw up the cut. I screwed up the bet. So I pull this out. I pull the envelope out. And I place the envelope on the table. And what I'm going to do is get rid of the Himber wallet. Remember, the Himber wallet was used just to switch in the envelope. So if I can get rid of this and get it out of sight, out of mind, I think we're going to get way ahead. The audience will not really recall that the envelope or the Himber wallet was part of the effect. So again, I pull this out and I say, does that say first try? And I use this large forward action of pushing the envelope. And I've asked the spectator a question. I say, does that say first try? And the spectator's, of course, going to say yes. And look what's happening quietly with my right hand. I'm just ditching. I'm just slowly sneaking the wallet off the table. And you can watch the performance part of this to see how quickly this goes by. In explanation, it seems slow, but you get the idea. And as I put that away, I come out with that pen that I left there earlier. I say, does that say first try? Yeah, that should say second try. So not only is it a very quiet way of getting rid of the wallet, you're also saying a funny joke about second try, and it'll get a good laugh. Nobody really remembers that that wallet just kind of disappeared off the table. On my second try, and the audience loves stuff like this. You say, well, I just want to make sure that the bet is absolutely clear. It says, I bet $50 I can cut to your card on my second try. It says it right there. So the audience loves little things like that. You're trying to back out of a bet. And the effect's really done. The 10 of diamonds is in this wallet now, or in this envelope. I say, how about this time? You be a stakeholder. I want you to cover that card up completely. Don't move your hands, cover it up. And if I lose, you can just keep the $50 bill. I pick up the cards. I do any other flourish cut. It doesn't make a difference which you do. You can showcase any flourish cuts you want here. And I say, all right, well, obviously I've lost. You can keep the 50. At this point, I want this spectator to believe that she really did win that 50. So some acting is important here, and I say, I just can't believe this is embarrassing. You could keep it. It's yours. As long as you act sincere, a little frustrated, let them have that opportunity to take that 50 out. Let them make fun of you, too. But instead of them just taking this, you want them to start to open it up. So I say, open it up, keep it. And I turn to the rest of the audience, because I want the attention on me here. I don't want the attention on that envelope just yet. And I start dealing through the cards, and I say things like, you know, if I'm within the top 5 or 10 cards, I still think it's a good trick. And what's happening is the audience is looking at this. What's happening over here, though, is the spectator starts to open this up. And if you watch the video, the performance, Hannah opening up this envelope was just perfect. She's fully expecting to see this 50, and she opens it up, and she's just shocked. She's like very disappointed. So once, I don't want them to take it out. Once I see that they're reacting to that $50 bill isn't in this envelope, that's when I stop this. I take that back and I say, what is the problem here? I rip this open. The audience wants to know what's the problem too, and at this point, they know what's happened. They were expecting that 50, and all they got was their card, the 10 of diamonds that they selected. So it's just a really fun effect to perform. They really do. It's like a sucker ending. They walk into it. And something I wanted to say about sucker endings, though, is effects that use the magician in trouble ploy really should be done very early in your set. If you do this too late in your set, they're never going to believe that you lost $50 that easily. So I usually do a trick like this, second trick that I've done. And they're going to want to make fun of you when you don't find those cards on those cuts. So it'll play much, much better. But she fully expects to get that 50, opens it up only to find a 10. Very entertaining for the whole audience. Don't forget, though, you've got your duplicate 50. You're going to say that's not even the most important part, getting that 10 of diamonds, giving you your 10 of diamonds back. The most important part, and you reach in very cleanly and reach into your outer jacket pocket and show them that 50. They got to be wondering where that 50 went, and the audience has got to be wondering, how did that 50 get from that envelope into that pocket? There was no way he ever went near that pocket. So you'll get a second reaction out of producing that 50 out of your jacket pocket. There was one thing I wanted to say about this contract, though. Technically, you didn't find the card on the first cut or the second cut. So when you take the card out, always rip the contract. And hopefully someone in your audience may say it. After you rip the card out, they'll say, well, wait, you didn't get it on the first cut or the second cut. You can say, well, you're right, but unfortunately, the contract is completely ripped up. I can't pay you now because it's destroyed. If no one says it, I'll rip it up and say the same thing. I'd say, like I did in the presentation, I'll say, I'd pay you, but it's completely torn up. So anyway, that's my explanation for Lucky 50. It's a great effect. Wait until you perform it. You get great audience reactions out of it. You know, I'm always surprised that whenever I finish performing, people come up to me and ask me how some of these tricks are done. But I'm really not supposed to tell. But both of you have been doing such a great job. I tell you what, why don't I teach you how to do one? Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, great. And as a matter of fact, I'll do the trick twice. I'll do it for you once so you can see what it looks like, and then I'll run through it a second time and show you exactly what I did. Okay? Now, you've heard that line, pick a card, before, right?
Yes.
Probably never heard it from anybody as talented and as good looking as myself, but I'll give you a chance. Here, I'm going to spread through the cards, and what I want you to do, when you see one you want, just take it out, okay? And don't let me see it. That's important. Anyone you want. Don't let me see it. That's important. You can show it to the camera, and I'll turn away. And make sure Hannah gets a chance to see it as well, but don't let me see it.
Do I see it?
You can see it. Yes, please look at it. Remember it. It's a much better trick if you know what card you picked. I'm going to ask you to place your card back in the deck. It doesn't make any. Just stick it in wherever you want. Now, believe it or not, you picked any card that you wanted. You placed it back in the deck wherever you wanted, yet already I know what card you picked. Was it the King of Clubs?
No.
What was it? This is awful.
You want me to tell
Yeah,
you?
you can tell me. I'm sorry.
Six of Hearts?
6 of Hearts. For a second, I thought I missed it. I thought I had messed up again. Now, it's your lucky day, though. You know why?
Why?
I'm going to teach you exactly how I did it. I'm not making that up either.
Okay.
Before I started the trick, I don't know if you noticed, but I went through the cards and separated all of the black cards from all the red cards. All right? Now, how does this help me find your card? I'll explain. When I offered you the cards, I only offered you the top few cards. So take any cards you want and don't show it to me, okay? Now, you show it to the camera again. I don't know what that card is, but I know that it's red, okay? And what I want you to do is place it back in, but notice where I said, yeah, right? See, I separate down into the black cards. So again, I have no idea what it is, but all I have to do at this point is spread through the cards and find that one card that's in the wrong color. There's just a few things that you have to watch out for, though. Don't ever cut the cards. If you start cutting the cards, you can mess up that red-black order. You might not be able to find the selection. And it almost goes without saying, don't shuffle the cards. If you take the deck and shuffle it like this, I mean, there's no way possible. There really isn't any way possible to end up with all 26 black cards together. There's no way possible to end up with all 26 red cards still together. I mean, it's not possible. And to still have that card trapped in the wrong color, you know, it's not possible. So don't shuffle. See, now you know how to do one.
No, I don't.
Oh, no, just remember, don't shuffle the cards, and you got it.
But you shuffled them.
Well, can I say?
Wow.
This is the explanation for the setup. I always start this from a shuffled deck, so you can do it anytime in your act. The cards are already going to be shuffled. All I'm going to do is set these cards up right in front of the audience. I'm going to out-jog all of the red cards. And I do this so the audience can't see. So you can see what I'm doing. All I do is spread over. Every time I come to a red card, it's out-jogged. And as I'm doing this, I'm saying, I'd like to do another trick for you, but how about I teach you how to do one? Now, it's very obvious that you're sorting through the cards and you're setting things up, but you don't have to worry about the audience saying, hey, what are you doing? If they do say that, you get to say, no, don't worry, I'll teach you what I'm doing in a moment. So there's no heat that you're setting things up or rearranging the cards before a trick. So this is the case. In this particular trick, it doesn't matter if you have all the reds on top or all the blacks on top. For me, I just always use the reds on top, so the pattern's always the same every time. Less thinking. Anyway, the trick's pretty simple. All I do is turn to this person and I say, I'd like you to select a card. As I spread through the cards, the only thing that matters is they take a red card. So in order to guarantee they take a card from the top, I just spread slowly. I reach in, or I spread through the cards and say, reach in, take any one that you want, and of course they'll take one within the few cards. I say, I don't want to see it, show it around, but don't show it to me. Then spread down into the bottom section, past halfway, and have the card return. So there's the card that they're selecting, and of course it just goes into that black section at the bottom of the deck, and now that's pretty much the entire concept holding this trick together, the first part of it anyway. They push it in, and I say, believe it or not, I already know what card you selected. I turn the cards face up, and I'm going to spread through. I'm going to miscall the card in a moment. I'm going to call it something else. But I wait until I see it first before I miscall it. One time I did this trick, and I said, you must have picked the 2 of hearts. And when I spread through, the card that I guessed was actually the right one, and I told them I was going to tell them how to do the trick, and I didn't know how to tell them how I did that. So I wait until I see the card. I say, oh, it must have been the 7 of diamonds, I say, or whatever. I just miscall it. Place it on the table. Of course, I do that without them seeing. I turn this face down, and they're going to say, no, it wasn't. It was the 2 of hearts. During that, I just crimp the bottom card of the deck. So I buckle the bottom like this, so that one card breaks free of the bottom of the deck. My thumb is going to hit the bottom of that card right there and ride over to the left edge and push down. So there's my crimp right there. So that all happens during that interaction with the spectator. They say, no, it wasn't. It was the 2 of hearts. And then I turn the card face up and say, oh, for a second I thought I missed it. So you get a nice little reaction out of that. Then you explain how the trick works. Now I need to turn the deck face up, but I don't want them to see that crimp. I also turn the deck over like this. I don't turn the deck like this so the crimp ends up facing the audience. But I have to be careful about hiding that. So I hold the deck in an elevated grip. My right hand goes in with my thumb underneath, fingers above. If I turn the deck over now, the crimp is hidden under my thumb. Now, the next thing, I need to move the 10 of diamonds or the 10 of clubs. I need to move the crimped card, whatever it might be, to 13th from the face. So here's how I do that. I take that card off into my right hand, and then I'm just going to start spreading cards on top of it, like this. And I count exactly 12 cards over, a sight count. So there's the 10, and then I do a group of 3, 3, 3, and 3. And I reinsert that crimp card underneath these 12 cards. And now the card of the 10 of clubs is now 13 from the face. Your actions here are justified by your pattern. I say that all I did was separate all of the black cards from all of the red cards. Now, I've noticed from performing this that about half of your audience understands right away what you did, and the other half of the audience doesn't know how separating the reds and blacks helped me find out what that card was. So I'll make it a little bit clearer for them as I continue the trick. I turn this face down again, and again, make sure you turn it this way, face down, not this way, so that you're hiding that crimp at the back of the deck. I place this card on top. I used to place the card back and buried in the middle. One time I did the trick and somebody picked the same card a second time, and after the trick was done they say, well, how'd you make us pick the same card again? And I didn't have an answer. So this time I learned to make the card, place the card back on top of the deck, and I say, let's do it again, and I'll explain exactly what to do and what not to do. And you just do the trick again. Make sure though that they treat it like a real trick. You want them to still hide the card from you, not let you see it. So I spread through the cards. I say, take any card that you want. I say, don't let me see it. Let's treat it just like the first part of the trick. Let me show that to the camera one more time. This time what I do is, I need to spread to the bottom of the deck, but I spread past the crimp. Now, I don't worry about looking at the crimp. I just spread until I've got about 5 or 6 cards in my hand here. I say, place your card back in the deck. And then I hold the cards up for a second so they can see what's happening. Now that half of the audience that didn't know what was really happening now can really visually see exactly what happened. The card is just going in the wrong color. So once they put their card back, I square everything up. And now I'm going to do a 12-card pinky count. Now, if you're not a fan of the pinky count, we have a section on this DVD where I'll teach the pinky count in depth. But for this trick, all I'm going to do is count in groups of 3, 4 groups of 3. So if you watch here, you'll see me say the pattern and do the count. Ready? I say, so that's how the trick works. Whatever card is selected just goes back into that wrong color, and that's how I know where the card is. See how I just did groups of 3? And that guarantees that I get 12 cards without counting in dead silence there. If you can't do a 12-card pinky count, you can do a sight count. You just come up and say the same pattern. You say, that's how the trick works. Spread over a group of 3. I just run through the cards and find that one card that's in the wrong pile, and you would down jog that 12th card. Later, you would lift up on that break to catch a break. So whether you do the sight count up like this, showing that the deck is all split reds and blacks, or if you do a pinky count, either way you're going to get a break below 12 cards. Then you say the only thing you have to make sure you don't do is cut the cards. I'm going to cut everything above the break to the table. Now I cut everything including the crimp card to the table. So I cut right to my crimp including the crimp, and then everything left in your hand on top of that, which is nice because it's a real cut. So the audience is like kind of agreeing with you now. They're going, well, yeah, that makes sense. You can't really mix the cards because you might lose track of the card. Then I give the deck an out faro. I split right at 26, and if you're having trouble splitting at 26, there's a key. Your black cards are right there. You're splitting at the red-black separation in the deck. But if you don't worry about that, just split right at 26 and you'll be fine. Now, usually when you do faros, the right hand takes the top portion and does your faro like this. In this particular effect, the right hand takes the bottom portion, and you do your out faro, which looks like this. And I say, not only should you not cut the cards, but you can't shuffle the cards. And again, the audience is agreeing with you. They're saying, well, yeah, that will totally destroy the red-black condition. There's no way you can find the card. That centralizes your crimp. Actually, it finishes the trick for you. It puts the deck back into this order. All of the reds are together, all the blacks are together, and the selection that they picked is buried in the middle of the blacks. But here's how I handle it. I cut everything above the crimp into my right hand. After that shuffle, I take everything in the right hand, place the cards in my left hand on the table. I need to get rid of this crimp. How do I do that? I buckle the bottom card, so I catch a break above it. I then in-jog this just a little bit. So at this angle, it's a little bit more obvious, but I'm just in-jogging that card a little bit, and my thumb just pulls up on that crimp, that's all. The moment, I mean, this takes a second to do. You can watch it in the performance. It takes a split second. So I just in-jog, lift, and then square. I say there's no way after such a thorough shuffle that I can end up with all the black cards together. I don't show them all yet. I just show that black card. Place this on the table. I pick these up. I say there's no way that I can end up with all of the red cards together. And I spread these across the table like this. It's a great contrast. You're saying there's no way this is possible, yet you're showing it. And there's no way, the pattern here is, there's no way I could possibly have all those black cards together except for that one card that you picked right in the middle of the spread. I spread all those out. I mean, the audience just can't figure this out. They knew the cards were separated reds and blacks. You cut them, and then you shuffled. That Pharaoh shuffle shows the cascade. They see that cascade, and a split second later, they're looking at this. They just cannot comprehend how those cards were shuffled and separated. And the icing on the cake is that you still are able to find their card in the wrong color. The last thing you should know about it is you can perform this completely in the hands, which is nice. At the end of the trick, you would simply hand the cards, so it would look like this. You would cut to your crimp. In the middle of the deck, you would cut here and ask somebody to hold these. You would say, there's no way to end up with all of the black cards together. You would be getting rid of your crimp at this point. No way you could end up with all the black cards together. You simply hand these to someone else. You take these back, fan them by your face. You say, there's no way I can end up with all the red cards together. Hand them back to that person, take these cards, and say that there's no way I could still have all of those cards separated. So it's very important when you're a walk-around magician to have effects that you can do completely in the hands, and the setup plays great. So whether you do it on the table or in the hands, it plays great for the entire audience, really brings them in, and also teaches them a trick, and then you do the second half, which completely blows them away. So it's definitely a lot of fun. Laymen love it. And that is my handling for the setup.
I can tell when I'm performing that both of you are simply staring at my hands, trying to figure out how these tricks are done. You're not listening to a word I'm saying. So I tell you what, even in a simple trick where one card is selected, you put it back in the deck, if I shuffle the cards, you guys are trying to keep track of 52 cards. That can be very confusing. So for this next one, I'm going to ease the burden a little bit, okay? And we'll just do a trick with 2 cards. So you should have no problem following along, okay? You might even figure this one out. Here's what I want you to do. I'll spread through the cards. What I want you to do, when you see one that you want, I just want you to touch the back like this. It makes no difference. I'll spread slow, but eventually touch the back of any card. This one right here. We'll find out what it is together. It happens to be King of Spades. Remember the King of Spades. And you realize, of course, you could have picked any card out of the deck. I'm going to take that King of Spades and tear it up, okay?
Okay.
And we'll tear it up into, let's say, 8 pieces. And can you hold out your hand for me over the table just like that? Because I want you to take that torn King of Spades and place it in your hand and close your hand and keep your hand closed. That's important. Now you can still feel a card in your hand, right? Mm-hmm. Don't move your hand a bit. Are you okay? Yeah. I haven't even done anything yet and you're excited. Okay, here we go. Now I had promised a card trick with 2 cards, and we've got the King of Spades in your hand. I want you to help me remember a card as well. In this case, the 8 of Hearts. It's your job to remember the 8 of Hearts. I promised a very simple card trick with only 2 cards, the 8 and the King. There should be no confusion. If I take, I hope this will work. If I take this card and just rub like this, did you feel that? Because I now have the King. Slowly, slowly open your hand, because in your hand is 1 card, and it happens to be a torn 8 of Hearts. Do you need a moment?
Oh my God.
It's your lucky day. You know why? Because I've got a souvenir for you. And I should mention, souvenirs are $15 a piece. And technically you have 9 souvenirs, 8 pieces plus the envelope. So.
How? It's 1 card.
Well, technically it's 8, but that's okay.
So this is the explanation for the ultimate exchange. You're going to need a few things here for this effect as well. Of course, we need a regular deck of cards. I'm going to need another one of these envelopes that we talked about previously, a coin envelope. This one, I've cut the lid off the envelope here because I don't want that flap to get in the way. Inside this envelope, we need a torn 8 of Hearts. And we have to make sure that the backs match. So if I'm using a blue deck of cards for this, which I am, we need to make sure we have a blue-backed 8 of Hearts that we tear up into 8 pieces. I also like to mix the pieces up, faces into backs here. So you can see it looks like this. All of this mess goes into this envelope, and this goes in your right pocket. We're also going to need a card case that we've got the cellophane on that we can hide a few cards under here. For this particular trick, we're using a double face card here. We have an 8 of hearts backed with the king of spades, and we've got a joker just to cover up the double face card. What you need to know about this is the 8 of hearts side goes up for this particular effect. And by the way, you can use whichever double facers you want, as long as if you want to use the queen of spades and the 9 of hearts, that doesn't make a difference. But as long as you know which one it is, you're good to go. 8 of hearts paired with the joker, this goes underneath the cellophane. Place this off to the side. What I'm going to do is I have to move the regular 8 and the regular king into position here. So all I'm going to do to begin with is cull the cards. Cull both of them. Since you'll always be doing this with the shuffled deck, you're not going to know which one you run into first. So I'm going to call the king, and then I'm going to call that 8 of hearts. And we're going to have a section on the DVD where you can watch more about utility moves, such as the spread call. So right now I'm going over it quickly. The 8 of hearts happens to be right there, so I'll steal that behind the spread as well, and they end up on top of the deck. Okay? Now, what I need to do is end up in this situation where I've got the 8 and the king at the bottom of the deck, underneath one indifferent card. That's where the end goal needs to be. So since we're doing this from a shuffled deck, you're not going to know whether you have the king first or the 8 first. But it's fairly simple. If this was the case, I would run the first 2 cards I would run together like this. So I'm pulling off that 8 and that 2, shuffling off, and then I just double undercut a card on top of that. If it was the other way around and I had the 8 on top, I would simply maybe do a milk build shuffle here like this, and then throw the king and shuffle off. No matter what, you can easily work those cards into position. The easy way to remember all of this setup is I have an 8 of hearts in my pocket. I have an 8 of hearts a second from the top. Let's get rid of this because it's a distraction. I have an 8 of hearts on the face of the deck, and I have an 8 of hearts face up. So 8 of hearts is the card that helps you remember all this. I'm going to place this card, the whole deck, on top of the case. Standard business after an effect. I talk to people on the sides or whatever. When I'm ready to start this trick, I pick up the box and the cards. I reach in and pinch off those 2 cards this time. So the case goes back down, and now I've got essentially a 5-card setup. I've got the double facer, I've got a joker, I've got an indifferent card, and then my regular king and 8. I'm going to pinky count 5 cards from the face. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all I'm going to do is move that 5-card block to the top of the deck. So I use an overhand shuffle. I just shuffle off until I get to that break. And eventually, when I get to the end, I just throw everything, and here's my 5-card setup. I don't throw this flush. I throw it in-jogged a little bit so that I can just lift up and catch a break. If I let it go flush, I'd have to do a 5-card pinky count again. So that's how I catch that break. I'm now going to use Mike Close double lift force, which looks like this. I'm going to force my double facer, but I'm going to force the king of spades side of it. So that's going to be difficult because you've got that 8 of hearts sitting there. So here's how it works. I spread over, remember I'm holding a 5-card break. I spread over a single, a single, a single, and a double. That's how I hide that double facer, which is right here right now. My left thumb clamps down on that, and what I can do is pull that double facer over to the right. I've pulled it over to the right, so it's now flush. There's my double facer. I can then steal that double facer underneath the spread as I continue to spread and say, Kat, can you do me a favor and touch the back of any card that you want? It doesn't make a difference. This one here. Eventually she touches one, and I square up the top portion of the deck and leave the card that she actually touched, which is the 2 of clubs, sticking out to the side. What I'm going to do now is pull this card free with my left thumb. I pull this out and out jog it about half its length. I square everything in my right hand up against the deck. So I'm left in this situation. All of this is square, including the double facer. I've just got this one out jogged card here. I place all of this out jogged on top of this portion of the deck. Now, when I pull all this back, I'm going to put my right thumb in the center, my index finger on the very edge of this, and then my middle finger on the outer portion of that card, the real selection. When I pull all this back, this is what happens. This card, the original selection that Kat actually touched, aligns with the double facer. So it looks like one card sticking out of the deck. My left thumb is here protecting this edge of the card, and the entire deck is square. So the card never goes out of view. My right hand now pinches at the outer left-hand corner and pulls this card out and rotates it end for end like this. I don't want to go on this side over here because I risk showing that edge. So I pull out from the left side, rotate it, ends up face up on top of the deck. We've got to get rid of the card that's behind this double facer. So what I'm going to do is a KM move. And that means I pinch this card like I'm going to do a double turnover, thumb above, finger below. And I drag this double across the back of the deck like this. Once I reach about halfway across, I allow the deck to fall flat like this, almost like you're closing a book. And at the absolute last second, I just pull that king out like this. And your indifferent card gets stuck back on top of the deck. So she has to believe that it was a free selection and that this is a normal card. I place the deck aside for a second, and we're going to tear this card up into eighths, just like we have that one in our pocket. Again, when you tear cards, make sure that you don't come up too high, especially for this trick. So I'm down here like this. I tear this up and I say, Kat, can you hold out your hand like this? Excellent. I'm going to ask you to hold on to this king of spades. Now, when you tear up a face-down card and put it into someone's hand, there may be a little bit of suspicion that it may not be the card that you are saying it is. But in this case, if you're wondering, is the spectator going to want to look at this card? There's no reason for them to look at this card. They can see it's the king. Now, when you place it in her hand, this is what it looks like. I place it at the fingertips like this. And what I'm going to do is essentially, it's an old coin trick. When she closes her hand, it becomes the 8 of hearts. So a quick tip on that. I'm going to put it in her hand out at the fingertips, and when I close, I keep my fingers pinching the card, and also look where I put my right hand. So can you see anything in your... No, you can't see anything. So if you're worried about the card falling over before she shuts her hand, she can't see anything. I place the king here. I protect the pieces so that falls is 1. I say close your hand. Don't open your hand a bit. That's important. And again, too, with magicians, you may think, oh, they're going to want to look at it. There's no reason that you would believe that that was anything else but that king of spades. Now, at this point, on top of the deck, we have an indifferent card. We have a king of spades, and we have that 8 of hearts. We need to get rid of that indifferent card. So I'm going to use an overhand shuffle. Chop off about half the deck, shuffle off, lift on the in-jog, shuffle to my break. Once I get to my break, I just run a single card. And there goes my indifferent card. I have an 8, a king, and an 8 on top of the deck. That allows me to do a double turnover. Pinky count 2 cards and hold a break. Turn this face up, and they're seeing an 8 of hearts. I've said that we're going to use 2 cards for this, that king, and let's use another card from the deck. They believe you shuffle the cards and you just pulled out any indifferent card out of the deck. In this case, happens to be the 8 of hearts. I turn this face down, and I'm going to place this into my jacket pocket. I'm not wearing a jacket, obviously, but that's where you would drop this deck. They now must believe this is the 8. They must believe that's the king. I come over here and rub like this, and you get an enormous reaction at this point. Notice also, look where my hand is. My hand is protecting hers. You can't just spring your hand open and say, oh, let me see. So I'm protecting you without you really feeling it. The king goes on the table, and I'm going to do the same exact thing in reverse. I don't just open her hand. I put this here so you can't see anything in there, and I say, I open her hand for her. I say slowly, slowly, slowly. But what are you doing? Nothing. I've got your hand pinned to the table. I am slowly peeling her fingers back, and I put my thumb in here to make sure that the card doesn't stick. Now, I've done this trick for years, and I'm always waiting for this to happen, where like part of this card is going to stick up there. It's never happened. But to prevent that, I just put my finger in there and say the 8 of hearts. They're dying to see it. I pull this out and spread it on the table so that they can see it really is an 8 of hearts. And you get a real miracle when they see this 8 of hearts that somehow magically changed positions with the king. They just can't figure it out. But you're pretty dirty at this point. You've got a torn double facer on the table. So I gather all this up, and I place it in my hand like this, in my right hand, out at my fingertips, so that I can do a false transfer. All that means is I'm pushing my thumb on top to keep the pieces together, and I'm going to time it so that when I dump it into this hand, it looks like I just put those pieces in my hand. It looks like that. So they believe, and a move like this we would never pause for explanation. It doesn't look so hot. Once they believe it's in this hand goes into my pocket and leaves those torn pieces behind and comes out with this envelope, which already has a real 8 of hearts in there, but they don't know that. All I do is I put this envelope, squeeze it so the mouth opens up, I put this hand over here and gesture and shake like I'm shaking those torn pieces into the bottom of the envelope. I then give them that and say, there's your souvenir. I suspect that if they go home and maybe want to think about how that trick worked and take this out, this is what they're going to see. They're going to see a regular 8 of hearts. They're not going to know how that possibly happened. Now, I'm pretty pleased with this switch at the end, how we get rid of that double facer and how we dump the card into our hands. But honestly, I've done this trick quite a few times. And in every single performance, when the woman opens up her hand and sees that 8 of hearts, she is stunned. She's shocked. So she's there talking to a friend saying, how did this possibly happen? Did you see anything? I had my hand closed the whole time. Meanwhile, I'm over here doing this false transfer and unloading into my pocket, pulling the envelope out. They're not even looking at me. They're not even watching, and I'm sitting over here saying yes, and you've got a souvenir. So there's so much misdirection from the climax itself that you have plenty of misdirection to cover this little switch at the end. Just one more thought. At the end of any particular trick that you hand out, souvenirs, like coin envelopes, it's always a good idea to put your business card information printed right on there. That way when you give it to her, it's just as good as a business card. And when you finish this trick, you put the deck of cards back into your pocket. We still have a duplicate 8 of hearts, the real 8 of hearts from the deck. So you reach into your pocket, and it's easier to show without a jacket on. All I do, once I got the deck, I just thumb the 8 of hearts off and leave it in the pocket as I come back out to continue. That way when you perform, you've got a clean deck. It'll be missing the king, and it'll be missing the 8, but the 8's in the envelope. So don't forget to do that. Again, that's my explanation for ultimate exchange.
You know, I find it interesting how whenever I finish performing a show, people come up afterwards and I guess they feel compelled to tell me their theories on how I'm doing a lot of these tricks. I've been accused of just about everything. People think I have inkjet printers under the table that I can print people's cards with their signatures on. Since my sleeves are rolled up, people accuse me of hiding cards in my tie. I had a guy, I can't make this up, said I had magnetic inserts in my palms and steel playing cards. I had an 8-year-old kid accuse me of signing my soul over to the devil. He was 8. He's the only one that got it right. But I had a guy the other day who would not stop about the fact that he knew it was a trick table. So I actually created, I know, right? I created this trick in case I ever see that guy again. So, can you do me a favor?
Sure.
I'm going to spread through these cards, and I want you to take out any number card that you want. No jacks, queens, or kings. Any one that you want. Don't let me see it. That's important. You can tell that she doesn't trust me. But I can tell by the way she picked it out. Now, I want you, the reason I wanted a number card is so that your signature shows up better. Take this and just sign your name on the face of the card. Don't let me see it, okay? There's no way I could possibly know what card she just picked out of the deck.
No.
And that's fine. And I want you to, you've got your name on it?
Yes.
Great. Drop your card back in the middle of the deck, more or less. And I just want to make sure the camera gets a chance to see it. Same thing, Hannah. I want to make sure you can see that card. And Krista, can you help me out? I want you to push that card back in the deck the rest of the way yourself. Go, just push it the rest of the way. Now, this only works if it's exactly in the right place on the table. And that looks just about as good enough to me as any. You remember your card, right?
Yes.
Now, I want everybody to watch, but more importantly, I want everybody to listen. Because it's in this instant, one card travels through the table. What card did you pick?
8 of hearts.
8 of hearts. And it has your name on it, right?
Oh my god.
Oh, no, please. Don't be impressed. It's just a trick table. It's just a trick table. It's okay. Now, let me try that again, but this time I'm going to ramp it up, okay?
Okay.
Make it a little bit more difficult for myself. I'm going to take that 8 of hearts that's got your handwriting all over it.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that 8 of hearts more or less. I mean, that's about the center of the deck. I'll place all that in the center. So I'm in the center of the center. It's trapped in the middle of the deck. I said I was going to take it a step farther. I'm going to place all of the cards back in the card case. I'm going to seal the case. Krista, can you hold out your hand like this over the table? Because I want you to rest your hand on top of the case just like this. Don't push yet.
Okay.
I want everybody to watch, but more importantly, I want everybody to listen because it's in this instant
Oh my god.
that all 50, are you okay? All 52 cards travel right through the table. All 52 cards. You know, the deck feels a little light. It feels like there's one card missing.
Oh my god.
What card did you pick again?
8 of hearts.
The only card that did not travel through the deck
Oh my
is
gosh.
the
Oh my
8
God.
of hearts.
Oh my god.
And you know what? You can have this as a souvenir. That is for you, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's for you too.
Oh my god.
That's my favorite trick song.
Unbelievable.
How did you do that?
Can you keep a secret?
Yeah.
Yes, so can I.
Well,
This is my explanation for through and through. In the book, this is probably one of the most fun effects to perform. It's also probably one of the most powerful tricks I've ever created. And it's not that hard to do. You'll see in a moment that there's really not a lot going on in this trick as far as knuckle-busting sleight of hand goes. But boy, I tell you, the audience member that you're going to do this for will literally jump when you do the move. And if you've seen the effect, you know the moment I'm talking about. When the cards melt through the table, you'll see physical reactions out of these people. So let's get started. The secret is always so simple. I hate to, I mean, that's it. I just tore the case open at the bottom. So this reminds me when I was a little kid and went to magic shops, and I was amazed by some amazing trick that Peter Montecup would show me, and then I'd buy it, and I'd find out that it was some silly, like it was a piece of plastic, it was a piece of tape, it was a little piece of wire or something. So that's what this kind of is. To any little kid, this would be such a letdown. So anyway, it's a regular case. The only thing I've done here, I've modified it in 2 ways. First of all, I tear this. I don't cut this. So I open up a brand new deck of cards, or I take a case, I take the plastic off. I tear off the dog ears on the side here, and I leave the side with the UPC here. So in other words, I'm keeping the flap that's on this side of the deck that shares the half moon side. Don't tear it off and keep this side up here. Also, I keep saying it, but don't use scissors for this. You have to tear it and take your time so that you get a nice clean edge here. Anyway, that's it. Once you tear this off, I also fold this back and forth a few times just to loosen this up. I don't want to have too much tension in this. This should just be very loose. So a couple folds back and forth, crease it, and you'll be good to go. All right? So anyway, because of this rough edge here, I can actually tuck this in and it'll stay in like that. The other modification I made is I made the half moon a little larger here. So all I did was trace a quarter, and then half of a quarter, and then I use an X-Acto knife, cut that out. So that's the gaff. I leave this case on the table face up. And by the way, when you start your show, you can just bring the deck out in this case like this. You just have to keep your pinky at the back so the cards stay in the case, which is nice. So I would take the deck out, remove the cards, start performing. But when I put the case on the table, I close this so no one can see through. And I have this flap tucked in the back there. And this remains here the entire time. So now we're ready to start the trick. Very basic. I have it doesn't even matter if they shuffle the cards or not. I always give the cards a couple shuffles as I'm pattering about all the different theories that people have when I perform. And all those stories I told are true. Everything I said. The 8-year-old kid that said I sold my soul to the devil, that was true. The guy with the steel playing cards, that's my friend Steve Canlin, said that I did invisible palm there, and or open travelers. And he said, oh, you must have magnetic cards and some sort of steel stuff in your hands. So all those stories are true. The audience likes that kind of stuff. So probably half of them are thinking, yeah, that's right. I was wondering that. So the cards are shuffled, and I set up this premise about this fake table, okay? Eventually, you're going to have a card selected. So you can have them name a number card if you want, so the signature shows up better. If you want to have them select a card, it's fine. Let's assume that they select this card. You have them sign the card. Very important for this trick. So we'll use my signature. And since this is the last effect we're filming, we don't need that pen anymore. Now, they sign that card across the face. And of course, it's important that you don't see the card when they sign, so you can look away while they sign it. And I'm going to use Marlowe's Convincing Control to bring that card to the bottom of the deck. You can use whatever control you want, but I use Marlowe's Control here. I spread to the middle of the deck, and I leave this card here sticking out of the side of the deck like this, and the top portion of the deck is relatively square. I say, go ahead and place your card back here, and they'll do that. I then align these two cards, this single card here and the selection. I align them as I come up and say, remember that card. That's very important. And it'll be a moment before we get back to it. I want to make sure the whole audience gets a chance to see it. And all that gives me a reason just to show the card again, but I have this aligned card now, so they feel there's a single card there. I then place this double, right? I butt this up against my ring finger on my left hand. See how that's stopped up against like that? And as I come down, that allows me to pinch down with my left thumb and pull the actual selection to the right. And they'll still believe that this is their card right here. I out-jog this card, and now I am able to feed the cards in above the break, and the selection ends up on the bottom of the deck, and they're left with this card sticking out that they have to believe is their card. So let's run through that one more time. Spread through the cards. I have this single card sticking out to the side. They give me their card back. As I bring the hands up, I align that one single card and their selection. So there's a double right here. I put my ring finger here, so I'm butting up against that. My thumb can now clamp down on this card here. And this is all happening while I'm up, like this. My thumb is clamped, and as I move the cards down, the right finger steal that selection underneath the spread. And now I can out-jog what they really do believe is their card. What the real case is this 7 of diamonds is now underneath the spread. And I continue spreading the cards so that 7 of diamonds ends up on the bottom of the deck. And you can watch in the performance section how quickly this goes by. And I end up like this in the situation. So why don't you go ahead and push that the rest of the way back into the deck, and she'll do just that. I now buckle the bottom card like this. My index finger pulls at this corner, which forces the bottom card to pop off the bottom of the deck, just a single card, and my pinky can grab a break on that, just like this. And there you've got that break. Now I'm going to gambler's cop. Basically I'm going to lap this card, but I use a gambler's cop to lap the card. And that means that, let me go over the gambler's cop real briefly. All that means is I'm going to move the deck forward. As I move the deck forward, the left hand drops at the edge of the table and steals that card, hides it at the very edge of the table here. What makes this deceptive is my grip at the front. All my fingers are at the front. I also pull the deck back right before the gambler's cop so that the card is held between the middle finger and the base of the index finger like this. So it's difficult to see with the deck on top of it, but once I move the deck back, my middle finger has re-gripped the card. I'm in this grip here. I drag the deck over the forefinger, and as this, I have this big strong forward action like this. This hand just quietly falls at the edge of the table. The only thing you need to remember here is the ring pinky. This bone right here rests right at the edge of the table so that can just rock from here to here. Okay? So let's do that again. The powder here, as I say, what I'm about to do only works if the deck is in exactly the right place. And I think this is a decent position. So let me do that a little slower just so you can see it happen. The deck comes back, goes over, the card falls, and I place the deck down on the table. Now, the instant this card lands into a gambler's cop, I just drop it, and it falls right into my lap. So that's nice. I get to come up immediately after my gambler's cop and show both hands empty. So one more time with this gesture afterwards. I think for what I'm about to do, it works if the deck is in exactly the right, that looks like the right place to me. So I'm coming up like this just to show nothing has happened. Now, when you lap stuff, you have to be careful of your angles. You want to make sure that your spectators aren't too far this way. Also, another protection is that after you drop the card, you can lean forward if anyone is sitting a little bit too close to the edge of the table. So anyway, that's the move. I've lapped the card, and I come up and I say, I want everybody to watch, but more importantly, I want everybody to listen. So I make this gesture again. I'm doing this gesture, but what am I really doing? Just showing my hand empty. So I say, shh. I'm going to reach the left hand under the table, and I just grab the card out of my lap as I go by. So I just picked it up now, and I do this. All I did there was I'm just holding the card like this. I've got my index finger underneath, and I'm flicking that card off like this, and I allow the card to hit the top of the table. It sounds great. Like that. And I say, everyone in the room says, wait, what? And I say, one card travels through the table. What was your card? And they say the 7 of diamonds, and I say, yeah, the 7 of diamonds with your name on top. You could stop right there. That's a great trick. But let's take it a step further. There's a great joke in the presentation, and I say, oh, stop. It wasn't me. It's just a trick table. Always gets a nice laugh. What we're about to do is lose the 7 of diamonds in the middle of the deck using the James Ellis loading move. We also talked about this move in Ladanye's ambitious card. So let's go over it real quick. I buckle the bottom card like this, catch a break above that bottom card. And that's just an indifferent card, doesn't mean anything. That's just a card that we're going to secretly unload on top of the 7. I transfer that break to the back, or to my right hand, and I'm holding it just with my thumb like this. I can now swivel cut the top portion of the deck into my left hand. I'm going to use this portion of cards to turn the 7 of diamonds face down. And then apparently just push this up just to show the signature. But what really happens is I unload that indifferent card, the 2 of clubs in this case, on top of the 7. So it looks like this. I've got my break. I say the 7 of diamonds with your signature on it. So they're looking at the signature. They don't know about that indifferent card. And then this is standard move. All I'm doing is pulling in that 7 of diamonds like this. The moment that 7 of diamonds is flush, I push this card over. That look good? Let's do that one more time. It's one of my favorite moves in card magic. All the complicated sleights out there, this is one of my favorite moves. I take that 7 of diamonds with your signature on it, and watch this. The instant that that coalesces, I turn it over, and they have to believe that's a 7 of diamonds. And I insert this 7 close to the top of the cards in my right hand. So it's really 2 or 3 cards from the top. When this goes on the table, I can drop all these cards on top, and now the 7 of their, what they think is the 7 of diamonds, looks like it's in the exact middle of the deck. So I slowly insert that card, lose it into the middle, but the 7 of diamonds is really still on top of the deck. Now I said that we're going to ramp it up a little bit farther, so let's put the cards back in the case. I hold the deck in my right hand, pinched at the top, and my left hand comes over and picks up the case. I hold this from above, palm down from above, and the pinky at the back. I use the card case to open up the flap, move the flaps out of the way, and now I can push that deck in, and I get to hear that sound. There's no bottom to this case, yet we can hear that nice slapping sound there. So, next move is this. I pinch the top of the deck here, and notice how the cards fan out when I squeeze at the outer corner. That allows that top card, the selection, to break free from the rest of the deck. And what I'm going to do is insert the flap separating the top card, the one that they selected, and the rest of the deck. And that's really the big secret there. This card is now free. And my thumb touches, that's why we made that big, large half-moon cutout there. My thumb can hold on to that, and I'm pinching the cards at the top. So the only thing touching the selection right now is this thumb. That way, when I release my grip, you're going to see these cards fall right out. That's what happens in your lap, by the way, at the edge of the table. And look what's left. There's only one card left in the card case, and that's that 7 of diamonds. So let's get caught up. Cards are in the case. I push that aside. Flap goes in. Now I have my thumb on the top like we talked about. I come back to the edge of the table like this, just for a second, and I say, hold out your hand like this. While they're like this, there's the release and pressure, and all the cards fall out of the case. And that's it. The cards have fallen into the lap, and look right now, we're one card in the case. So that's closed. I come up and I say, hold your hand. I say, don't push yet. And they rest their hand on top like this. Now, I'm in the same situation. The cards have fallen into my lap, and they're relatively square. Let me give you a quick tip on this, too. Right now, there's about this much space between the top of the table here and my lap. So let's go over this real quick and just get this out of the way. If your lap is too close to the edge of the table, when the cards fall out, this will happen. You don't want that to happen, because then you've got to like shake the cards and everything jams up. You also don't want too much space. So if we trap that single card and drop the cards from this high, what's going to happen when they hit the table? You're going to make a huge mess, and you don't want this to happen in your lap. You want the cards to fall relatively square. So with practice, I found out that it's actually this. I know when I sit down at a table, that's about the space. So I put my thumb at the top, and if my pinky is touching my lap, I know it's going to work just right. What happens, and you can't see into my lap, the cards fall and they land like this, in this nice shape like this. So let's get back to the effect. The 7 of diamonds is on top. We'll just speed right through this. In the case, put this here, put this here. Cards fall into my lap. I place this here. The spectator rests their hand on top. And as I reach under the table, I just grab the deck out of my lap. Right now, I'm holding the deck in riffle force, like this, like I'm going to do a riffle force underneath the table. And what I do is get this sound. As I crush the box, I do that. You hear that? Is that good for audio? I do that sound, and it just enhances the effect a little bit by hearing that crunching sound. If you do that when you crush the box, it sounds like this. So you get that big crunch sound. If you do it without the crunch, it loses a lot there. So that's why this adds quite a bit. I pull this back out and I say, all 52 cards have just traveled through the table. I mean, they are going to jump out of their seats. Watch the performance video, and when I do this trick, every time I do it, it's a huge reaction. They physically pull back like this. So just wait till you try it. So anyway, that's crushed. I then say, you know, the deck feels a little light. It feels like there's one card missing from this deck. And I spread the cards out on the table and I say, will you lift your hand? They lift their hand, and you open this up, pull this flap back, and pull this single card out. And say, what card did you pick again? And they're going to say the 7 of diamonds. They just cannot believe the only card that didn't travel through the table is their signed selection. Now, there's one last thing you need to know about, and that's this gaff. Since this was torn out, since this was ripped out, you can totally just give this away. I do that all the time. I still do this. At the end of this trick, I just say you can have this as a souvenir. It's totally feasible that when you crushed the case is when you tore that out. That's part of the crushing of the case. If you're worried about that, and I've thought about this, I'm waiting for somebody someday to say, oh, I get it, you just ripped the bottom out. I don't suspect that, but if it ever happens, there's a great, easy way to get around this. After you crush the box and you pull the 7 of diamonds out, you can say, and that's the only card that is in the case, the only one that didn't make it through the table. And if you tear this open, there's no evidence whatsoever that there was a previous tear. You've completely destroyed everything here. So if that's the way you want to do it, that's fine too. Like I said, if you're nervous about that, just do it this way all the time. It'll never happen. You give them this as a souvenir. It's always funny to give the spectator some trash and say souvenirs are 15 bucks. That's for you. So either way, that's got to be one of the strongest tricks that I've ever created. It gets the best reactions. It's called through and through. It's really not that hard to do. I hope you get a chance to perform it. And again, that's through and through. Let's take a closer look at the pinky count. I get a lot of questions online about this. Apparently, there's not a lot of places that you can learn this move, either in books or DVDs, so why not put it in mine? So the pinky count, if you're familiar with how to count the cards like this with your thumb, that's essentially what we're doing here at the back of the deck. I don't know if you can come in close on that and see the pinky is just moving through those cards one at a time. Okay? So let's put the deck down for a moment and talk about the concept. And we'll just use one card for this. Let's just take this card and we're going to pinch it right in the thumb crotch right here, right at the base of this index finger on this bone right here. Right about there, about maybe a third of the way down on the left edge. This allows me to pinch the card here, and my pinky can now grab this inner corner. And see how I can pull that card off like this? That, in essence, those are the muscles I need for the pinky count right there. So if you can do this, you're going to be on your way to learning this pinky count. Now, the first thing I would suggest is doing exactly what I'm doing right now. Just grab one card and develop a feel for this, all right? The next thing you can do is grab a few cards. Now, I'm not saying that you should count through the cards singly just yet, but can you still, the card's a lot thicker, can you still get that springing action with a thicker group of cards? And perhaps you may count through the cards in groups or so. Maybe a few cards fall off, but just developing a little bit of strength here. Add a few more cards. You would do this over the course of a couple weeks or so. Now I've got about half the deck here, more than half the deck. Do you still have enough strength to pull down with that pinky? Those are the muscles that you're trying to develop here. Okay? But again, it all comes from this original grip. Hold one card and see if you can get that card to pop off. All right, let's take a look at the pinky count with the whole deck now. The biggest tip I can give is right here at the back of the deck, this bevel. If you look close, you can see that I've beveled the back of the deck. It's a very strong bevel right there. And that allows my pinky to pop cards off one at a time. All right? But again, you've got to develop the strength in these fingers back here, especially in your pinky, to be able to get those cards to pop off. But if the deck is not beveled, it's very, very difficult to get those cards to pop off one at a time. Now, to illustrate this point, I brought a book. It's the only one I could find in such short notice. It's my book. You're familiar with this bevel already because when you leaf through a book like this, notice how these pages are beveled. That's the bevel that we're putting in the deck. And notice how that allows my thumb to pop one page off at a time. That's the same concept that we're using to bevel or to go through the cards one at a time. So now look again at the back of the deck. We've got this strong bevel, and my pinky is doing what my thumb was doing a moment ago, just popping off one card at a time. All right? So either way, that is a much closer look at the pinky count
And it's, again, one of the most important moves in all of card magic. It is in every single one, almost every trick I think I do, but in Confident Deception's book and in this DVD, it's in every single trick that I teach. All right, so there you go. There's the pinky count. Let's talk about the false shuffle. Now, the false shuffle that I use is a push-through shuffle. And it looks like this. We've got a deck of cards that's in order here, a new deck order. The false shuffle that I like to use sometimes is this. Standard stuff. You should be, if you're buying this DVD, you're probably familiar with this move already. I just want to go over on some tips that you may not be doing already, or something that help you make it look a little bit better. So I gave the cards what looked like a shuffle and a cut, and of course the deck is in the same order. So let's go over a few things. First, the concept. I'm almost positive that everyone out there, if you're buying this DVD, you're familiar with this concept. The cards are shuffled together like this, they're riffled together, and then all I do is pass this small half here, the side on the left, the original top, goes through at an angle like this, comes out the other side. And then, of course, when I strip these out, I'm making that look like a cut. So how do we make that more deceptive? Something I see a lot of magicians do is they make the angle too strong. They go through at a very wide angle like this. And I think the audience can pick up on that. Maybe the cards didn't get mixed, or they might be suspicious about something. So the first thing is to reduce that angle that the cards go through. So how do we do that? I keep the cards parallel. I keep the cards very, very parallel. I don't want to get too angled. I come together like this. The cards are all squared up. And when I push, I keep that angle as small as possible, so you don't see the cards go through. Something else. I just want to go over a bunch of tips with this particular shuffle. The next thing would be to always use new cards, a brand new deck of cards. If you have a brand new deck of cards, you're going to have not very much friction at all as you go through these halves. You can see as I pass through, there won't be any binding during the strip out. Another point that I can give is a bed of cards. So I'm going to pull the top half of the cards to the left. When I start the shuffle, I lay down a bed first. This is the original bottom half, or the right half. I lay down about 10 cards or so. Then I start the shuffle. This means that I have a smaller amount of cards to pass through the other half. So it's going to be easier to push through those cards on that small bed of cards. One more tip. You have to make sure that when you do your false shuffle, the push-through shuffle, that the original top card gets buried. See, notice how I've got this top card buried under at least one? The reason is, after I do this push-through, I want to make sure that the strip out looks like a cut. And if I'm doing the strip out like this, you can see that this apparently looks like it's coming out of the middle of the deck right now. So that will be the strip out action there. And it'll look like you're pulling it off the bottom or the middle of the deck. If you don't do that, let's back up and take a look at that. Now I've got the original top card still on top. After I go through, this doesn't look like the strongest cut in the world. It looks like I'm taking cards off the top, putting them back on top. So there's a few tips that can help with the shuffle. Let's take another look at the actions afterwards, the strip out, the actual strip out. So let's go over the whole shuffle, what we've got so far. We're going to cut off a small group of, or about half the deck over to the left. I shuffle a small bed from the right hand side. I shuffle the cards together. I always make sure that that original top card gets buried. I start to push the cards together. Everything's nice and square and aligned. I'm going to have my ring fingers pushing at the outer edge here, which is going to allow for a small angle as the cards go through. My middle fingers provide cover, so there everything goes through. You can see this is what I'm hiding. You can see the brief right here. Now, the strip out action, you want to make sure that it's not too fast or too slow. If you go really fast, it creates a little bit of tension, and if you go too slow, people can kind of see what you did. So you have to find just the right amount of speed for that to go by. And a good way to figure that speed out is to give the cards a real shuffle. So I'd give the cards a real shuffle followed by a real cut. You see how fast those cuts are right there? That's about how normally I give the cards a cut after a shuffle. I don't want to shuffle these now because they're still in order. But that is the speed that you're looking for. Look at that. That's the speed that you're looking for when you do these cuts. So now let's do an entire false shuffle sequence together. Here's the cut. Here's the bed. There's the shuffle. Original top is buried. I push the cards together. I go through like this. And then the speed of this cut looks like that.
The last bit of business is those up the ladder cuts. So let's take a look at those real quick. We'll just speed right through this and get right to the up the ladder. The first thing I do is pull everything out. I place this entire half side jogged. So you can see I'm side jogged to the right. The next action is to take half of this top portion off the bottom. So my right hand is taking the bottom half of this portion here. This comes out and I place it flush with the original portion of the deck, and then I'm left with this sticking out, this brief here. When I pull this out, place this on top, and you're simulating a running strip cut, but really what happens is the deck is back in its original order. So that's a closer look at the push-through shuffle. Let's take a closer look at the spread call. This is a great utility move that allows you to set up the deck right in front of the spectators without them knowing. Anytime you have a reason to go through the cards, to remove aces or to remove the jokers or anything, you can set up nearly anything. So let's start out by stealing the aces. The very first thing that we're going to do is steal the first ace. And the first ace is the technique is a little bit different. What I'm going to do is align the ace and the card right before it, the 9 of spades in this case. Those cards get aligned. I just bring them together and my left thumb clamps down. So now I've got essentially a double. Underneath, here's what happens. My right fingers can pull that card all the way to the right. But you can't see that because the cards have been aligned. So what the audience sees is the 9 is there and I've pulled that ace underneath the spread, but you can't tell because the 9's covering it. Now once I've got that ace pulled underneath, the cards that I'm going to continue to spread go above that guide card. You can see this ace right here. The cards are getting spread above that. And I'm going to spread down until I reach the next ace. Now, of course, for explanation purposes, I'm leaving this hanging down. When you do this from performance, this would be pushed up as far as it can go. Now, let's talk about the next card that we're going to steal, this ace. Notice how when I split these cards, I create this shelf. Now, in a real call, I don't split the cards, but for now, I just want to make a point. You can see how I have this independent control of this shelf right here. This King of Hearts, the King of Hearts side of the shelf, I'm going to push past the next ace. So you see this left edge right here? This left edge goes past the Ace of Clubs. So the Ace of Clubs goes behind the spread. Once the ace goes behind the spread, my fingers, my right fingers again, can steal that card. Let's take another look at it on the next one. I'm going to spread down to the next ace. And again, there's that shelf I'm talking about. I've created this shelf of cards here. I'm pinching, these are the previous two aces, are pinching this part of the spread. In this case, the Jack of Hearts is going to go beyond. The left edge of this card goes past that ace. Once that ace is completely out of view, I'll do it face up this time so you see what the audience sees. Once that goes out of view, the fingers can pull it behind the spread. So now the ace has joined these other three. Let's take one more look at it for the last ace. I continue down through. Again, there's the ace. This time I won't break the deck. I've just created this shelf here with that 3. See how this is all completely independent? The 3 of hearts, this left edge of the 3 of hearts will pass past the Ace of Hearts. Once it goes out of view, my fingers at the back here can pull the ace free, and then I continue to spread through. And of course, when I'm done, I'm going to have all the aces together at the top. Let's take just one more look at it at, still slow, but at a speed that you can see what's happening. Aces get scattered throughout the deck. So here's what happens. One more time through. I spread through the cards. Once I come to the very first ace, I'm going to use the card just before it, in this case the 9 of diamonds. Those cards get aligned. The thumb clamps down. The fingers can pull that behind the spread. Remember, I has to free the spread. So when I continue to spread, these cards here are going above that guide card. I'm going to continue spreading right here. I make that shelf that we talked about. The Jack of Spades is at the edge of that shelf. The Jack of Spades must go past the Ace of Spades. Once it goes past the 8 of Spades, see how it just vanishes behind the spread? The Ace of Spades is here now. I continue to spread. Let's do the same thing for the Ace of Clubs. There's that shelf we keep talking about. Spread the 2 of Spades past the Ace of Clubs. Once it's passed, I can steal that ace. And the last one I'll do at speed. We'll go through and watch that Ace of Diamonds just vanish behind the spread. It was quick. Did you see it? So now I've got those 4 aces at the back of the spread. So that's a much closer look at the spread call.
Just another Thursday here in Troy with Dino Petrocelli, one of the best photographers. We've got Nina Jade, one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. We've got an entire crew. We've got poker tables, poker chips. We've got 18-year scotch. We've got everything. Let's do it. Today we're shooting in this abandoned warehouse out in the middle of Troy, New York, and we're going to get some amazing photos. The last time we did a photo shoot, we were in a studio, and we got some great shots, but today we decided to go completely overboard. The textures, everywhere we look, it just looks amazing. It's so easy to work with Dino. He tells me what to do, I do it, and the results are always amazing. Always amazing.
Jason Ladanye, who's an awesome magician with cards, he has a book out. So he wants to do another book. He wants to do this really cool shoot in this warehouse, playing poker. And we're going to have smoke in here after. So now we're just trying to coordinate our outside lighting with our inside lighting with our flashes. So it's not an easy task. Plus, we had to bring generators in and the whole thing.
This light bulb is actually going to be hanging in the middle of the table. It's going to be swinging back and forth like you see those old school, like it's in a dungeon or this whole place that we're at. This is just what it's going to look like, and it's going to be awesome.
I love seeing stuff like this. It's fun. It's fun to see just how it's all done, and then to see the final finished product is what's really fun.
This is the real challenge of this shoot right here. Finding a place to hang clean clothes and not getting glass in your feet. Anything for a good photo, right?
Right.
And finding a place to change. We haven't figured that one out. Just yet.
I'm a freelance model from upstate New York, and this is my first time working with Jason. So today we're doing a magic card shoot, and my role is to be the sexy James Bond girl. Basically just the arm candy, and my job's to light the cigar for him.
This is my favorite makeup artist.
Oh, thanks.
I've been Dino's working makeup artist for probably over 3 years. I come along to anything that Dino needs, so yeah, just to make it pretty.
And what brought you here? Jason, actually. He wowed me, frankly. We did a photo shoot together a while ago, and it literally had my jaw drop 10 times. Like, amazing stuff, this guy. So I signed up. Why not? It's my boy, right here. This guy right here.
It's a new look. I think this is something that could catch on.
Totally what we're going for today. Do you like it?
Oh, yeah.
Should I sex it up a bit?
It is hot.
This is extra.
Oh my God, what am I paying you? Somebody double it.
We're spilling out for hours on end, and we've got this little bucket that will do the job. Gotta love it. Only on photo shoots.
Had a little trouble early this morning. The police showed up and asked us if we had a permit and all that, which we don't. So I had to kind of make it sound like it was just a quick in and out picture. I told the guys, like, we're just gonna take a picture, it's 20 minutes. And he bought it. We've been here for maybe 5 or 6 hours. They haven't come back. So it looks like we're gonna get every single shot that we tried for. Joe, this is what it's really like. Sweaty mess where we're racing against the clock and bumps.
I brought all my lights. I busted my ass, and we're not using any of them. We're just using my little hot lights. Look to the right a little bit. Turn your head. We're dealing with the lights forever changing. It's hard when you got a lot of people. That's why I have a little captain. Takes the edge off. Oh, that's looking really good.
Look at that. If that's not like absolutely beyond my wildest dreams.
Hold the cards down a little bit. Nina, you're looking at the cards? Holy shit, look at that.
Looking great.
That is friggin' ridiculous. I'm loving this shit, man.
That's actually a great shot, man.
It is going amazing. Really, I've seen some of the photos, and they're more than I could have even anticipated. And that's why I like using Dino. Came here with an image in my mind, and he has blown it out of proportion. Joe, like for real? The outtake was better than the. Never mind. Take one. We're gonna do like 40 takes.
And I say that's I don't know which one of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do that again with all the train wrecks. You ever seen a train wreck? You just did. So that's my version of the. It was inspired by seeing a Jim Swain effect, and Jim Swain's was you. Thanks, Obama. Let's see. How does this trick start again? Yada yada yada. Your mom's a.
El gato zebetos con. No, el gato con roja zebetos. El Dorito muchacho diablo. That's all I know. Yeah, Doritos. Dorito. All right, this is the explanation for Lucky 50. It's one of my favorite effects. That's my handling for the setup. Hope you get a chance to go yourself. And 2, check 1, 2. Diamonds, jack of clubs. Joe, I hope you're not filming me reading my own tricks.
Nope, not at all.
For a split second, it looks like this. That 4-card group is really only off the deck for a split second. So, oh wow. Thanks, Obama. Can you reach into the deck, take any, this is a trick I do all the time. There's gonna be no pattern for growth, because I do these all the time.
Okay.
Can you reach into the deck?
You do this all the time?
And that is the secret to being awesome. If you don't have this, there's lots of ways to get around it. You can simply bring a copy, Xerox copy of the handwritten notes. You go. If you can't find one of these, go yourself. Which includes all 3 of those moves. We can spend a little bit more time talking about each one, get more in depth, and I can your mom in the. Are you ready for fun? Is that on tape? Is that on tape?
Yes.
What are you gonna do? Not like it? Go yourself. You can still find decks of cards with these inside. You say that again without throwing up in the back of my throat.
I just don't understand.
It hurts a little bit, doesn't it?
It does.
It's painful.
I mean, it'll keep you up at night. Oh, this is the explanation for through and through. Another effect that it actually is the most fun. One of the most fun performs to effect. Wow, really? It's not a joke. That really happened. Now, there's no way that they could possibly know. Motherfucking good. Now, there's no way that they could know what card. How could that be? We talked about this in Ladanye. It's okay if I'm mispronouncing my own last name. That's a hell of a trick. That is a good trick.
I'm not wearing any pants. I think that's why it's funny. We'll edit all this out, though.
Why still up? So they're going to be completely paralyzed. You don't even know. I don't even know what the I'm saying. Are we still rolling?
Yep. You don't palm just like as if you're palming the card.
I don't know what that means. Fuck it, we'll do it live. And that's it for us today. We're gonna
Palm it. We're gonna palm it.
We'll do it live.
We're gonna palm it.
I know what you're wondering. You're probably thinking, yeah, but what do these tricks look like without any clothes on? So, for the bonus section, we're gonna shoot a lot of these tricks in the buff. Hopefully, this can be known as one of the best card magic videos ever made.
I hope so.
That's what we're doing. I'm not making that up.
What are we doing? Okay. Oh my God, we are done. So anyway, that's my explanation for the setup. And still go f yourself.